Hey, before this video begins, just wanted to throw it out there that I am now partnered with the brand Dubby. Dubby is an energy drink engineered to give you power without the jitters and crash that come from caffeine. If you're interested, use promo code DMuted for 10% off your next order. I'm really excited about this and being partnered, so definitely check out the link in the description and use promo code DMuted. Thanks and enjoy the video. It was December of 2021. And there I was, not yet the dumb YouTuber I am now, but still climbing my way up. At the time I was little more than an admirer of the scene, not the active investigator you see before you today. And in that month, on the 16th to be precise, an all-timer of a new case was revealed. Across all the marketing building up to the release of Five Nights at Freddy's security breach, there was one thing that I, and many others had been wondering. Where on earth is Bonnie? The original Fazbear gang had gone through quite a recolor, to put it lightly. Freddy was bright orange and even bared impressive fangs and a new friendly personality. Chica was as gluttonous as ever, but it came attached to a newer look that made her more closely resemble an adult chicken rather than a chick. And Foxy, well, she's now Roxy, a wolf character who fulfilled a similar role while also striking audiences as being one of the most unique in the series. But Bonnie, well, we had Monty instead. An alligator with anger issues replaced the bright blue bunny we were all expecting, so where did he go? We had a couple leads here or there, with consensus being that Monty took him out so he could replace him, but we never got anything solid. There was no physical evidence of this happening, no body especially. All we had to go off of was Bonnie Bull still existing, and Freddy saying that he misses him. And for a while, that was it. That is, until July 25th, 2023. This was when Bonnie's design was revealed to fans, and furthermore, his body. Upon deactivating all the wet floor bots in the Pizzaplex, one could visit him in Bonnie Bull and see him, or rather, what's left of him, as he laid crushed and broken apart on the ground. I heard the sounds of a new case being opened up, and I think this time we can actually solve it. But to do so, we'll have to take it to court. Cue the Phoenix Wright soundtrack.
What if he just fucking killed himself?
Order in the court. I know that as the lead investigator on this case, I have literally no business also being the judge, but that's just how I'm handling things, so shut up. Anyway, lead investigator, also me, do you have anything you'd like to say? Yes, my honor. I'd like to, if I may, introduce our current case and our suspects. Very well, I may begin. Thank you. Glamrock Bonnie first disappeared at an unknown point in time before the events of Five Nights at Freddy's security breach. This event seemed to genuinely puzzle the staff, who quickly appointed Monty as a Glamrock animatronic and made him a permanent member of the band. Simultaneously, the staff also began taking down all Bonnie memorabilia and decor and replacing it with plenty of Monty-themed stuff. It's also known that this was not a planned event by Fazbear Entertainment due to logs we can find in-game further going into detail about Glamrock Bonnie's disappearance, as well as a note attached to a Glamrock Bonnie plushie that can be found in Ruin. On top of this, we have the final resting place of Bonnie to examine as well, and plenty of suspects that could feasibly be our bunny killer. So without further ado, let's get right into the suspects. Our top suspects for the disappearance of Glamrock Bonnie include Glamrock Freddy, Montgomery Gator, Roxanne Wolf, Glamrock Chica, Vanny, and the Mimic. These are our suspects because all of these would presumably be in the Pizzaplex at the time of the incident. Many of them would have the motive to kill, and many are more likely than others. In lieu of these characters defending themselves, I'd also like to ask that they instead have a given representative provided by the court. I wouldn't normally allow this, but what the hell, sure. Representing the slew of defendants we have Wright.
Huh? Oh, yeah, let me do some legal research. I just watched this legal eagle video at 4 times speed, and yeah, I'm ready.
Very well. Lead investigator? Yes, my honor. If I may, I'd like to start by cross-examining who I think is our least likely witness, Glamrock Chica. Glamrock Chica is one of the characters with next to no interactions with Bonnie as far as we know. She's one of the few characters who has no part in either Bonnie's disappearance as we know it, nor does she have any part in the company's interpretation of Bonnie's disappearance on Monty's gondola ride. However, she's not entirely innocent either. It's worth noting that Glamrock Chica is one of the few characters who on some level was capable of influencing other animatronics, as her voice box is capable of confusing them and making them run in the opposite direction. This could technically have been what makes Glamrock Bonnie run straight to his death, but otherwise we've got next to nothing. I don't think you really need to defend this one, Wright.
Objection!
Yeah, after all this buildup about who actually killed Glamrock Bonnie, having it just be an accident caused by Chica's voice box with no buildup is incredibly unsatisfying. I do not think this was the author's intent. You'd think there would be some kind of breadcrumbs if it was.
Next up is Roxanne Wolf. Roxanne, similarly, does not have much to do with Bonnie as far as we know, but there actually is slightly more evidence that she did it than Glamrock Chica. In fact, pretty damning evidence once we take a look at her crime scene. And so, I hand it off to our on-site forensic specialist, David Barron.
Well, it's a great day out here in Bonnie Bowl DMuted, where the rabbits are lying dead on the floor and surrounded by a ton of evidence. Wow. First off, there's a bowling ball right beside his head. It's cracked into several pieces, implying this was what he was hit with that probably brought him to the ground. And what do you know, it's a Roxanne bowling ball, if the colors are anything to go off of. He also has numerous claw marks on his chest, and most of his body is pretty brutally ripped apart, something we know Roxanne is capable of, given she did the same thing to several staff bots. To me, Roxanne is definitely a suspect. I mean, she did style Monty's hair on the gondola ride after all, which might imply the two were friendly, which also might imply the two would do anything for each other. My guess is that Roxy killed Bonnie just to help her friend become a part of the band.
So, with that in mind, Roxy seems like a good suspect. Maybe they actually was—
Objection!
I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't know if you've heard what the word motive means, but being friends with someone who benefited because of it does not mean motive. Just because you're friends with Monty doesn't mean you have motive to kill. All the animatronics were presumably friends. Do all of them have motive to kill because of that? I don't think so. Also, there were other bowling balls in that room. Roxy's not the only animatronic to have a bowling ball there. There are plenty. I don't see any clear motive for Roxy to be involved in this case.
Damn, alright, you bring up some good points. Okay, judge me, how are you feeling? Dull and indifferent. Can we move on to more exciting candidates than the two literally zero people suspect? Alright, moving on. This one is a special one because if this is true, it adds an almost Shakespearean twist to the whole case. Glamrock Freddy and Bonnie are probably the closest we ever hear about between two animatronics in the entire series. They might be more than friends, let's say that. I can hear the angry comments now. But anyway, what evidence do we have that Glamrock Freddy did the deed with his more than a friend? No, not like that kind of deed, I mean murder. And anyway, let's take a look at where Bonnie ended up, and also look at that Monty ride again. Bonnie is found in Bonnie Bowl, a place we know Glamrock Freddy at one point used to go to a lot based on dialogue in Security Breach, but he stopped going when Glamrock Bonnie disappeared. Maybe the reason he stopped going isn't because of grief, but because of guilt. After all, Glamrock Freddy, as we know, is prone to fits of rage due to his partial corruption by Mimic 1, and is definitely still susceptible by the time of Security Breach. He also has sharp nails, although they aren't referred to as claws, and I do feel that if Bonnie asked him to, Glamrock Freddy could meet Bonnie wherever he asked, maybe to behind the bowling alley where he would then kill him. It's also worth noting that Monty appears to have a huge grudge against Glamrock Freddy, and if the Monty ride is to be believed, it might be because Bonnie was Monty's idol, who Freddy would have then killed, which gives Monty a purpose for not liking him.
Objection!
Oh cool, so we can just submit fanfiction for evidence now? Your Honor, I don't see any non-speculative points here. It's almost entirely speculation with absolutely zero physical evidence. Frankly, one of the only pieces of physical evidence we have is the poster in Bonnie's green room. A Freddy poster, signed, "You and me, forever and ever, love Freddy." Is that something you would tell someone you're planning on killing? If anything, that's something you would tell your boyfriend. Your boyfriend. Why would Freddy kill his boyfriend?
Our next suspect is Vanny. This one is an all-timer classic theory, and it's probably the oldest on our suspect list. This theory is also often paired up with Burntrap's Glamrock Bonnie theory, which is almost definitely not the case now, but I will be entertaining the main portion of it in order to build a case. For starters, Vanny makes for honestly our best bet regarding the camera logs we can find in the Pizzaplex regarding Glamrock Bonnie. Although our last one ends at Gator Golf, Bonnie goes all over the Pizzaplex first, and may even be being led around by Vanny. After all, she doesn't seem to be visible to the animatronics, and doesn't appear very clearly on camera. She's also the one with the best reason to dispose of an animatronic, if it's one the Mimic couldn't control, or one that would have interfered with larger plans. Given that we don't know what Glamrock Bonnie's death would have meant for the Mimic, it's hard to say outright why Vanny would have done this. However, I would still say she most likely has the means.
Objection!
You would really say Vanny has the means to do something like this. Let's look at Vanny's track record for destroying animatronics. Oh right, in both times that she managed to destroy Freddy, she died. She's not great, she's kind of a 1-to-1 on killing and being killed. Not only that, look at the intense physical damage to Glamrock Bonnie. That looks nothing like what we see Freddy afterwards. Frankly, I don't even know if Vanny knew where Bonnie was. We see it's most likely that the person recording Bonnie's movements was Vanessa trying to find Bonnie. She would have been looking at Monty Gator Golf, not Bonnie Bowling. I don't see any strong case here.
Okay, that's nice and good, but can we actually move on to the two characters people actually clicked on this video for? I mean, I'm ready when they're ready.
Yeah, I kinda only prepared for the last two.
Aren't you the defense? Okay, let's start with the Mimic, why not? So, this one is definitely in the realm of more likely. The Mimic is an evil son of a bitch with a hyperfixation on rabbits, presumably, so there's a decent chance that he wanted Glamrock Bonnie gone for that reason. But regardless of motive, what the Mimic actually has a lot of is means. He is a character who, by now, is well known for their claws, is capable of physically overpowering at least one other animatronic, and even takes them apart in the same way Bonnie is, by detaching the limbs and the head. By all means, what happened to Glamrock Bonnie's body looks very much like some sort of Mimic murder scene, which may even explain why it's been hidden away. This would also explain a very specific line of dialogue we see written about a Glamrock Bonnie plushie, that being that Cassie's dad knew what happened to Bonnie, but wouldn't tell Cassie. To me, it seems possible and even likely that this is because he knew the Mimic killed him. Presently speaking, it seems likely that Cassie's father was a technician who knew about the Mimic, and may have even created mixes to combat it. The fact that the other staff don't seem to know exactly what happened to Bonnie based on notes we find, but he does, it definitely makes it more likely, in my opinion, that the Mimic got his hands on Bonnie. But I can already tell that the defense is going to have a field day with this one.
Objection!
You know what, Your Honor, I do have to hand it to him. That's a pretty solid argument. You know, except for the fact that the Mimic has been trapped under the Pizzaplex for the entirety of both games.
What if he just fucking...
Alright, fair enough, but we still have one more left. One who we can say is our top suspect, Montgomery Gator. Monty is definitely the only character besides Freddy who we know absolutely interacted with Bonnie beforehand. Even Bonnie's star sunglasses appear on Monty in the base game. Although it's worth noting, he is not usually seen with these on outside of this neon sign artwork right here. But even still, there's an overwhelming amount of just evidence that Monty on some level was involved. First of all, in the initial message where we see Bonnie's path, he stops at 4:12 a.m. in Monty's Gator Golf. This is the last time he's seen. However, he's found in Bonnie Bowl in ruin, which implies that something happened and he was moved. Now, I might just be playing Clue here, but can I say it was Monty Gator with his gator claws in Bonnie Bowl? Maybe. Let's dive a little further. I've mentioned the gondola ride by now, but it's essentially the corporation explanation for why Monty replaced Bonnie. He idolized the Glamrocks, and Bonnie seemingly took Monty on as, you guessed it, an understudy. But in the end of the story, Monty is so good at guitar, he creates a tornado which blows Bonnie away, never to be seen again. To me, this seems to be telling us plenty. Monty killed Bonnie, but this is the nicest way the corporation can actually say it without scaring the shit out of kids. But here's the thing. This is the corporate version of the story. We have no reason to believe any of it. After all, Monty is portrayed like a nice, friendly guy here, and we know that he is not that. For my money though, I would have to say Monty's quote-unquote death scene in Ruin is what has me convinced. The way you beat Monty? By electrocuting the flooded log flume ride with a neon Bonnie sign. A little bit of that Shakespearean irony poking through again. If it's true, that is.
Alright, that is it. I have had enough. For too long now have I sat on the sideline watching you slander my innocent angel Montgomery Gator, and it's about time I said something. How could you even think that Monty would do something as evil as killing Bonnie? Bonnie was his mentor figure, his closest friend. We can see just as much the moment we look at his backstory shown leading to the catwalk section of Ruin. Bonnie is clearly shown here giving Bonnie his guitar. Why would he then feel the need to kill him for that? And okay, just for a second, let's entertain this ridiculous idea that Monty did kill Bonnie. If that were the case, then why on earth would his body be found in Bonnie Bowling? Going by the evidence you provided, Monty would have killed Bonnie in Gator Golf, right? Well, then I guess his body just up and walked away because it ended up landing itself in a completely different location in the Pizzaplex. And another thing on that, if Monty was so dead set on killing Bonnie, why of all places would he bring him to Gator Golf? Wouldn't that make him suspect number one right away? Why would Bonnie go there of his own accord? Something just doesn't add up, and I think we're giving Monty far too much slander for a crime that he very easily could not have committed. Your evidence which proves his guilt has more holes in it than Bonnie, and yet here we are acting like Monty is without a shadow of a doubt the crook behind this heinous crime. It makes me sick, and you should be ashamed. I rest my case.
Alright, I've heard enough. It's clear to me that we can speculate all day about who killed Bonnie, how, and why, but everyone here is avoiding the real questions. How did he die? Where? Do I have anything to say about this lead investigator? Oh, for sure. Let's examine first what we know about Bonnie's final resting places in these games. In Security Breach, we hear that Bonnie wound up in Gator Golf and disappeared. In Ruin, however, we find Bonnie in the back of Bonnie Bowl, in pieces with a shattered bowling ball around his head, implying this is where he was actually killed, and the killer, whoever they may be, left the scene of the crime an absolute mess. So, who did it? Well, actually, I haven't brought up the true killer of Bonnie. None of our suspects actually had a hand in killing him. Sure, he was brutally injured and left to rot by attacker and staff alike, but the actual killing came far later. It came when a little girl entered the Pizzaplex and turned off every single wet floor bot in the building. In fact, Cassie, our player character in Ruin, is our actual final killer. Somehow, Bonnie is connected to these wet floor bots. The screams coming from the wet floor bots may even be coming from Bonnie, trying to get anyone's attention when he calls for help. But if Cassie shuts them all off, Bonnie's eyes, which are glowing when you first see them, finally shut off for good. Cassie finished the job. And who was the initial attacker? Well, that one has gotta be Monty. We know Monty's character flaw is jealousy and envy. He always wants what he can't have, and that's the spotlight. From the beginning, fans seem to have figured out his plan. Kill Bonnie and become his replacement, then eventually do the same to Freddy. From the claw marks on Bonnie's chest to the dismembered state of the corpse, it's obvious which reptile did this. So let me lay it all out.
Actually, I'll handle this one. First, we see Monty lure Bonnie into Gator Golf as a result of the mentor-mentee relationship that the two shared. However, Monty knew it would incriminate him if Bonnie was found in Gator Golf, so the two go back to Bonnie Bowl through a back entrance where there are no cameras. Through that back entrance, they find themselves behind the bowling pins. And then when he's vulnerable, Monty picks up a bowling ball and cracks it over the side of Bonnie's head, knocking him down. Monty then proceeds to dismember Bonnie, tear into him with his claws, and leave back for Gator Golf. The human staff find Bonnie much later on and decide to turn Monty into a Glamrock animatronic rather than try to repair this mangled shell. The Bonnie-themed merchandise and decor is eliminated aside from Bonnie Bowling, just to try to get rid of it and bury the whole story. But Bonnie wants help. He's still active, just destroyed. Bonnie begins connecting to the wet floor bots, begging, asking for help, looking around, trying to find someone. But then Cassie comes in, turns them all off, and kills him.
Well now, I didn't expect the defense to chime in and give a complete story on how your own client is actually guilty.
Hey, I knew one of these guys was guilty. I have no allegiances here. As long as I can prove it's one of them, the rest goes scot-free. That's a pretty good track record, if I might say.
I see. And I am disturbed. Well, this court finds Cassie guilty of manslaughter and Montgomery Gator guilty of first-degree aggravated assault and murder in the first degree. I sentence him to several years of good puppy fan art. Like, Really high quality fan art that makes him look like an adorable yet feral dog. Court adjourned. My honor, what about Cassie? Oh yes, I sentence her to several years of MCU dialogue. Now court can be adjourned. Oh, and if you're still watching, be sure to subscribe for more content like this in the future. It's been a lot of fun. And special thanks to David Barron, The Baddest, Wright, and Pastra for their roles in this video. It was a lot of fun. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.